Imagine waking up 7 days from now and realizing you're no longer the same person. That weak, impulsive version of you, trapped in chaos, is gone. And now you walk with a calm and strength that no one can take away from you. That transformation is within your reach, but only if you have the courage to look inside yourself and act. Are you ready to take the first step? In this video, you'll discover exactly what to do over the next 7 days to start a transformation so powerful even you won't recognize yourself. This isn't about magic formulas or empty promises. What you'll learn here are Stoic teachings that already changed the lives of emperors, warriors, and sages. And you can start applying them today. Step by step, I'll guide you to cultivate calm, master your emotions, and stop being a slave to the external. Get ready, because what you're about to discover won't be easy, but it will make you strong. If you're willing to face the truth and act, this is your moment. Let's begin. Today, I want to tell you about someone who, in the middle of all the noise and lights, found the calm she had been searching for years. Her name is Andrea. Andrea had always been the kind of person who arrived late to everything. Late to jobs, late to relationships, late to peace of mind. At 29, she felt like her life was a concert that was way too loud. Everyone around her was shouting, dancing, moving forward. And she, stuck in the crowd, just wanted to get out. One random Friday, her friend convinced her to go to a concert. Andrea didn't want to go, but she said yes just to avoid an argument. The place was packed, the lights were blinding, the floor sticky with beer. Everyone was jumping, pushing, singing along. Andrea could only think about leaving. And then she saw her. A girl, alone, sitting on an amplifier, legs crossed, eyes closed, wearing a calm smile. While everything around her was chaos, she was at peace. Andrea couldn't look away. That calmness startled her so much that she walked over and, almost shouting so she could hear, asked her, "How can you stay so calm here?" The girl opened her eyes, looked at her with amusement, and replied, "Because I'm not what happens outside, only what happens inside." Then she closed her eyes again. That phrase stuck in Andrea's head like a song she couldn't forget. That night, back at home, she searched online and found a quote by Epictetus. "Do not seek for things to happen the way you want them to. Rather, wish that what happens happen the way it happens, and you will be happy." She decided to try, just for 7 days. On Saturday, when an old woman pushed her in line at the supermarket, she took a deep breath and let her go ahead. On Sunday, when her ex texted asking to meet, she didn't reply and turned off her phone. On Monday, she arrived early to work, and when her boss criticized a report, she calmly said, "I'll review it." On Tuesday, she went to the movies alone and even laughed out loud at a scene, not caring about anyone. On Wednesday, instead of swallowing her anger at the family lunch, she got up from the table and went for a walk in the park. On Thursday, after months of not daring, she told her friend she didn't want to go to another party and stayed home reading. And on Friday, exactly a week later, she went back to that same bar for another concert. When she walked in, her friend looked at her, half surprised, half amused, and said, "You're unrecognizable." Andrea smiled, shrugged, and inside she thought, "Thanks. That was the idea. That's why I'm telling you today, you will be unrecognizable in just 1 week if you do this. If you stop being what happens outside and start being what happens inside. Just like Andrea, and you can do it too." We're starting strong today. I want you to ask yourself, when was the last time you felt like yourself? No filters, no fear, not depending on anyone. If that question makes you uncomfortable, subscribe and become an exclusive member to start feeling in charge of yourself again. And leave it in the comments. What part of you got lost in the noise? Or just write, "Stoic at heart." Because today you choose to be yourself again. Let's begin. 1. Master your head before it masters you. Your mind is like that annoying friend who gets drunk at a wedding and grabs the microphone to sing Despacito, even though no one asked. If you don't get him off the stage in time, he ruins the party. But unlike that friend, you can't just shove your mind into a taxi and send it home. Here, you have to learn to calm it down while you keep dancing. I don't blame you, my friend. I used to believe that voice in my head was smarter than me too. That it was right when it said, "You're not good enough for this. Everyone's watching you. You're going to fail." For years, I thought the only thing I could do was put up with it and pretend I didn't hear, while inside I kept shrinking smaller and smaller. Until one day, in the most unexpected place, someone showed me how to start quieting it down. It was on an ice rink, during an especially cold winter. I'd gone skating with some friends, convinced it would be a disaster because I'd never put on skates in my life. And sure enough, for the first half hour, I just clung to the railing like my life depended on it, with the voice in my head saying, "You look ridiculous, everyone's staring, you're going to fall." At one point, a friend shouted at me from the center of the rink to let go already and just try, that nothing would happen. I took a deep breath, let go, and after just a few feet I slipped and fell flat on my back. The ice was freezing, obviously, but what hurt most was looking around and feeling like everyone was staring at me. I got up awkwardly, red as a tomato, and right then I decided to leave the rink and head home. But just as I was taking off my gloves, ready to go, I saw him. An older man, gray hair, wearing a red scarf, gliding around the rink with incredible calm. What was curious was that he was limping. With every turn, his right leg seemed to betray him, yet he never lost his smile. I watched him, hypnotized, and something inside me told me I had to ask him how he did it. So when he came off the rink, I walked over without thinking and blurted out, "How do you do it? How can you be so calm with everyone watching and with that leg?" He smiled at me and said something I'll never forget. "Because I'm not my leg, and I'm not the eyes of others either. I'm just the one who decides to take one more lap." That phrase kept echoing in my head all afternoon. Even while I tried to laugh with my friends, I couldn't stop thinking about that man and how he'd said those words with such peace, as if he'd been rehearsing them for years. When I got home, still with my wet gloves in my backpack, I sat down at the computer and started searching. I didn't know exactly what to type, so I wrote, "How to quiet the voice in my head." Among the first results was a quote from Marcus Aurelius that hit me like a bucket of ice water. "Your mind will take the shape of what you frequently hold in thought." I stared at it for a long time, reading and rereading. And then it clicked. It was like the drunk at the wedding. If I gave him the microphone, he sang and took over the dance floor. But if I took it away, the party went on, and calm finally returned. The thing is, all of us, sooner or later, go through something like that. I'm sure it's happened to you. You're on the subway, leaning on the door, and you feel like everyone's staring at you because you're wearing new shoes. Your mind starts, "Why are they looking at me like that? They probably think they look bad." But if you look up and actually pay attention, you'll see no one's looking at you. They're too busy scrolling through TikTok or trying not to miss their stop. In your head, you're the star, but in reality, you're just another extra. Or imagine you're in a meeting and while you're talking, your boss furrows his brow. Your mind races. "That's it. I'm getting fired. I screwed up." But then you find out he was just deciding what to order for lunch, or even something as silly as getting an okay in a text. You convince yourself they hate you, they're mad you did something wrong, when in reality they were just in a hurry. That's how the mind works, my friend. It makes up stories, repeats them in a solemn voice, and if you don't stop it, you end up believing them all. But don't worry, this can be trained. So tell me, are you ready to start today and in just 7 days become someone who's in charge of their own head? First, give that annoying inner voice a name. Call it whatever you want. It can be dramatic Dave, exaggerated Julia, or intense Shark, whatever comes to mind. Once you name it, it feels less serious, easier to ignore. Second, the next time an uncomfortable thought attacks you, don't bottle it up. Write it down on a napkin and throw it in the trash in front of someone, even if they look at you funny. Just to remind yourself it doesn't matter. You are not what you think. Third, set an alarm on your phone that says, "Still overthinking? Let it go already." Every time it rings, take a deep breath, straighten your shoulders, and change the station in your mind. Don't forget that your mind is not your enemy. It's just a drunk guest who was never taught how to shut up in time. But also, remember this. Every time you choose to take the mic away and speak for yourself, you're stepping closer to the version of you that you want to become. It doesn't matter if you don't feel like it. It doesn't matter if the voice keeps shouting. What matters is that today, here, you act like a Stoic, with discipline to not give up, with clarity to see things as they are, and with courage to do what needs to be done even if your legs are shaking. If you want to be unrecognizable in just 1 week, start here. Change the channel in your head, turn down the volume on that mental drunk, and dance to the music you choose. Because that, my friend, is what someone does when they decide to live like a Stoic. 2. Use every blow as a step. My friend, if every time life slaps you, all you do is focus on the mark it leaves, you'll end up covered in scars like an unfinished painting. But if you use them well, those marks can turn into something beautiful. Like a Picasso, messy, unique, impossible to ignore. And since you're here, why not turn each blow into a step towards something better? Because sooner or later they come. That feeling that everything's going wrong, that the universe has perfect aim and hits you right when you're most tired. You can't avoid it. And of course it hurts. But you know what? Every blow can be a step if you learn where to put your foot. Failure is like dominoes. They fall one after another, making a racket, leaving a mess. But they also clearly show you where not to go again. Sometimes they even form a whole new path, if you're brave enough to really look at it. That's why Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." He wasn't talking about ignoring pain or pretending it doesn't hurt. He was saying that precisely what's blocking you right now is exactly the material you need to keep moving forward. If you don't believe me, think about the story of Benjamin Hardy. This psychologist and author was about to finish his PhD when he was told he couldn't give a TEDx talk at the very event he was helping organize. Of course it crushed him. But instead of locking himself away to sulk, he put together a small online workshop with the ideas he'd planned to present. Within a year, over 100,000 people had seen it. That no that hurt so much ended up being the first yes to something far bigger than he'd imagined. And what about you? How can you use each blow as a step? Picture this. It's a Tuesday afternoon. You're at the gym right after work, still wearing a half-wrinkled t-shirt and carrying a water bottle with a peeling sticker. You've been crossing paths for weeks with that girl who always does squats in the corner and smiles when she sees you. Today, you finally work up the courage, walk over just as she's adjusting her weights and say a little clumsily, "Hey, would you like to grab a drink sometime?" She looks at you, smiles kindly, and says, "Oh, you're really sweet, but I'm already seeing someone." Your face turns red, you swallow hard, pretend you're going for more water, and then you pass by a sign that says, "Boxing classes Tuesday and Thursday." Without thinking much, you sign up that very night. And the next week, in the middle of class, between jabs and laughter, you end up sparring with a partner who says, "You're new, right? But you've got good style." And there, among sweat and gloves, you realize that rejection pushed you straight into something better. Because that's how it works. If you use the blows in your favor, even when you don't feel like it, you can start to look unrecognizable in just a week. So, my friend, next time, write down exactly what hurt on a note, with all the details, but finish the sentence with, "And I'm still here." You'll see how it changes what you feel. Then, I dare you to tell your failure to a friend like it's a funny story, just to take away its power. And also, set yourself a small challenge you can complete that same week to keep moving. Even if it's just fixing that wobbly chair in your kitchen, or finally sending that email you've been putting off. The slaps hurt, yes, but no one becomes unrecognizable by staying on the floor. Every blow you use as a step lifts you another rung. And if you choose to act like a Stoic and refuse to let the blows knock you down, in 7 days you too can start looking in the mirror and seeing someone who doesn't look like they did before. 3. Pause, breathe, and choose your response. Picture this. You're at work and someone hits you right where it hurts. That's impossible. You have no idea what you're doing. In less than a second, your blood rushes to your face, your hands clench. You're already about to launch into a full-on soap opera finale, with shouting, dagger eyes, and words you didn't even know you knew. And yes, you let it all out, every last word. And when you're done, the silence weighs heavier than the original comment. Because now it's too late and you regret it. Now picture it again. The exact same scene, the same words. Only this time you stop for 3 seconds. You take a breath, and you respond with a calm question, almost with a faint smile. Why do you think it's impossible? Nothing more. The other person freezes. You stay whole, and the whole room doesn't go up in flames. Maybe now you're thinking that wouldn't work, that it's too simple to be true. But no, my friend, it's not silly. It actually works. Lori Gottlieb, therapist and author of Maybe You Should Talk to Someone, explains it on her podcast. She says that when you get used to inserting a small space between stimulus and response, not only do your relationships improve, so does your self-esteem. Because you stop being a puppet that reacts as soon as someone pushes a button, and you become someone who calmly decides what to do. And it's not just a modern psychologist thing. Epictetus already knew it centuries ago. He said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you interpret it that affects you." In those 3 seconds, you decide whether you're the master of yourself or a slave to your emotions. No, it's not easy, especially when the words sting and the urge to explode is right on the tip of your tongue. But right there, in that pause, is where your transformation begins. If you can train that pause for 7 days, my friend, you won't even recognize yourself. Not because the world changes, but because you stop catching fire at every little spark. And believe me, people notice. So, are you ready to turn those 3 seconds into your superpower, like a true Stoic? Here are 3 ways to train it this week and see results. First, when you feel your body tense up, raise your eyebrows just slightly and breathe through your nose. Yes, that's simple. This little gesture tricks your brain and calms you down. Then, try the box breathing technique some soldiers use to stay calm before going into combat. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4, exhale for 4, and wait another 4. You can do it discreetly while someone else is talking. For example, in a meeting, while the boss dishes out criticism, you're already controlling your breath. And when it's your turn, you respond with firmness, not anger. That's exactly what Epictetus recommended. Retreat within yourself. And this kind of breathing is a perfect way to do it. And yes, you might be thinking maybe breathing alone won't cut it. So here's another trick. Count to 5 in another language, even if your accent is terrible. Uno, zwei, trois, cuatro. Whatever. Your brain can't stay mad and translate at the same time. If you do it in the middle of an argument, it might even draw a smile from the other person. Finally, before opening your mouth, ask yourself, how would this sound if I said it on a podcast? If it seems too crazy or embarrassing to record, don't say it. Stay quiet, breathe, and choose a better response. Big explosions always start with tiny sparks. If you want to be unrecognizable in just 7 days, become that person who knows how to put out the spark before it burns everything down. That calm not only changes the way others see you, more than anything, it changes the way you see yourself. And now tell me, when was the last time you took a breath before responding, and it saved you? Share it in the comments. Your experience could inspire and help someone who's still learning to control their spark. Or just write, "Today I breathe before I speak," to remind yourself that calm begins with a single breath. 4. Do what's right even if it leaves you alone. Who are you when no one's watching? Are you the one who crosses on a red light even though there's a kid watching? The one who borrows a pen from the office because, come on, no one will notice? The one who cuts in line at the supermarket because you're sure no one will complain? It's in those little moments, when no one seems to be looking, that who you really are shows up. We all know someone who always chooses the easy way. The one who cheats on tests without breaking a sweat. The one who dodges work while others carry the load. the one who blames the first person they can just to save themselves. And sure, at the moment it seems comfortable. But when it really matters, no one trusts them. Because easy doesn't build you, my friend. It just covers you in dust. Choosing what's right is like rowing against the current. It's tiring. You get wet, people look at you funny. But you're the only one actually moving forward. And this isn't just some feel-good quote to hang on the wall. Marcus Aurelius, who had the power to do whatever he wanted, wrote something so simple it's almost embarrassing not to live by it. If it's not right, don't do it. If it's not true, don't say it. If that was enough of a compass for him, a man who decided the life and death of thousands, can't you apply it when you're paying cash at the grocery store and nobody checks if you gave the right change? To make it even clearer, let me tell you something that happened at the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. Japan had just lost to Croatia in the round of 16. The match was over. The Croatians were already hugging, shouting, heading to the locker room to celebrate. Meanwhile, the Japanese players walked off the field with their heads down. Anyone would have thought it normal for them to just hide, rip off their jerseys, and run to avoid the cameras. But instead, they did something nobody expected. One by one, they started picking up bottles, folding towels, leaving the benches spotless. They cleaned the floor, piled up the trash, even left flowers and a thank you note for the hosts. At first, people watching didn't get it. Why clean a locker room if you'd just been eliminated? Why smile if everything was over? But that was the point. What they did had nothing to do with the scoreboard or the eyes of the world. They did it because, as their coach Hajime Moriyasu later said, "We win and lose on the field, but who we are off it says more than any result." And the best part is they didn't do it for the cameras. They chose to stay true to their values even when there was nothing left to win. That scene went viral not just because it was beautiful, but because it reminded everyone that doing the right thing when no one's watching is what really transforms you. It doesn't matter if the game is over, if people are distracted, if no one claps. Doing what's right doesn't depend on who's watching. It depends on who you are. You don't need to go to Qatar to put this into practice. Imagine you're at a company dinner. Everyone starts trash-talking a coworker who isn't there. You could laugh and fit right in, but instead you look up and calmly say, "I'd rather not talk about someone who isn't here." Sure, it gets awkward for a second, but later that night someone messages you to thank you for being the only one with the guts to speak up. That's rowing against the current too. So what can you do to stand on the right side, even if it's not the most comfortable? Here are some ideas. Next time you see someone doing something wrong, instead of staying quiet, smile and say, "Hey, don't you think there's a better way?" You can also carry a little handwritten list of your principles, yes, like a personal ID card, and pull it out to remind yourself who you are when things get uncomfortable. And here's another. When you're torn between the easy thing and the right thing, picture your mom standing there watching you. If you wouldn't do it with her there, don't do it now. Comfort is fine for a couch, not for your character. If you want to become unrecognizable in just 7 days, start by choosing what's right even if it leaves you alone. That discipline of doing the right thing without an audience transforms you faster than you think. And the next time someone asks what changed in you, you can smile and say it was the courage to row where others don't dare. 5. Clean out everything that's weighing you down. Some houses look like antique shops. All it takes is a moment to stop and really look. That shelf crammed with little figurines you can't even remember who gave you. Drawers stuffed with manuals for phones that don't even exist anymore. An inbox about to burst. Pure chaos, more dust than intention. And the funny thing is, our minds are usually the same. Full of junk that no longer serves us. Relationships that smell of mildew, and thoughts that weigh as much as an old sofa. That feeling of living surrounded by useless stuff slowly robs you of space, energy, and clarity without you even noticing. Living with what's unnecessary is like pushing a grocery cart piled high with expired cans. It's heavy to move, squeaks with every step, and on top of that, it doesn't even feed you. But still, you cling to it out of fear of letting it go, as if losing it would be worse than carrying it. Epictetus, who knew what it was like to live with just the essentials, put it better than anyone. Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. And he lived it. He owned just a cloak, some sandals, and a staff, yet he taught kings how to be free while walking lightly. And it wasn't just Epictetus. The Stoics in general saw simplicity as a kind of freedom. Seneca, for example, one of the richest men in Rome, would sometimes sleep on the floor and eat stale bread to remind himself he needed nothing more than his mind to be at peace. Marcus Aurelius, even as emperor, dressed simply and avoided the luxuries others desperately chased. For them, surrounding yourself with excess wasn't a prize, it was a chain. And that's the great lesson. The more you fill yourself with things, the harder it is to move. That's why they trained themselves to live with little, so nothing and no one could buy their calm. And no, it's not just about material things. It's also about what you keep on your phone and in your head. For example, you open WhatsApp and there are those dead groups from 2019 with names like Barcelona trip or gym dinners. Full of stale memes and broken promises, you read those messages and instead of moving forward, you stay there, tied to a past that no longer matters. So that same afternoon, instead of wasting time, you delete those chats, throw out the box of cables you've been keeping just in case, and block that ex who still sends not-so-subtle messages on the worst nights. And even though it seems small, that cleaning already starts making room for something new. So, my friend, the next time you feel like your head or your backpack is too heavy, try this to lighten it up. You've got a week to reset yourself, and I promise you can become unrecognizable if you do it with discipline and courage. Start by cleaning your space. Yes, that's simple. Look at it right now. That desk full of pens that don't write, crumpled notes, manuals for gadgets you don't even own anymore, and a cable nobody knows what it's for. All that weighs more than you think. So, one by one, take everything out of the drawers, the table, under the keyboard. If you don't know what it's for or you'd forgotten about it, out it goes. If you haven't used it in months, out too. When you're done, you won't just see a clear desk. You'll feel your head breathe a little easier. Then I dare you to open your inbox and empty it until you have fewer than 10 emails left. Yes, fewer than 10. It might take a couple of hours, it might feel tedious, but afterward you'll breathe deeper, like you just shed a soaking wet coat. And finally, review who you follow on social media. Those people who only post complaints, cryptic jabs, or pictures that make you feel worse. They're not helping you. Imagine you had to invite everyone you follow to dinner tomorrow. Would you? If not, out. Unfollow, mute, remove. No one's going to notice except you, who will feel like you just opened the windows and let the air in. If you do this right, by the end of the week you won't just have cleaned your house, your phone, and your feeds. You'll have cleared your mind too, because the things you cling to out of fear of losing them are the same things that keep you from moving forward. And if you want to see a different you in just 7 days, start here. Your surroundings say more about you than you think. 6. Do what you must even when you don't feel like it. Ah, my friend, the famous motivation. That thing we're all chasing like it's some hidden treasure at the end of a rainbow. You know where it is? Me neither. Motivation is like that friend who promises to help you move and then vanishes the day you need them. Discipline, on the other hand, never bails. It shows up with a van, rolls up its sleeves, and starts hauling boxes even if it's pouring rain. Because waiting until you feel like it is like waiting for a cat to obey when you try to teach it tricks. It's not going to happen. And while you sit there waiting for that magical click to get you out of bed, life keeps moving and opportunities slip away. Seneca, who wasn't one for excuses, said it plainly. It's not because things are difficult that we don't dare. It's because we don't dare that they are difficult. If you're waiting to feel ready, you've already lost before you start. Sounds like a nice theory? It's not. Look at Andrew Huberman, the neuroscientist everyone looks to when it comes to the brain and habits. He doesn't talk about discipline because it sounds good. He lives it. He wakes up at 5 every day to train. Does he hate getting up early? He admits it without shame. But here's the interesting part. He doesn't do it out of pride or personal challenge. He does it because he knows the body and mind respond better when you act before your brain starts making excuses. He even says, "I start on autopilot without thinking if I want to." Then the motivation shows up. And that makes him the perfect example. Because he doesn't just say it, he lives it. And that's the key. Discipline creates motivation, not the other way around. You've probably felt it yourself at some point. It's Saturday. Your alarm goes off at 7 because you decided to go running. It's cold outside, raining, and your bed feels like a cloud hugging you. Netflix whispers seductively, "Don't be silly, stay here." But you, looking like a zombie, get up, put on your sneakers, and head out. At kilometer 2, you still hate yourself. At kilometer 5, you start feeling proud. And when you get back home, someone says, "Hey, you've really been taking care of yourself lately." And it wasn't because you felt like it. It was because you did it anyway. And here's the good news. You can train that discipline like a muscle. It doesn't have to be heroic. Want to know how? Let me give you a very simple idea to make it happen in 7 days. Imagine that tomorrow you want to wake up early to read before touching your phone, drink some water, and move a little before starting the day. Perfect. But the key isn't in tomorrow. It's in tonight. Start by setting the stage. Leave everything ready. Water bottle on the nightstand, book open to the right page, sneakers by the door. If you can, even sleep in your workout clothes so you don't have to fumble with your closet half asleep. The less you have to think when you wake up, the better. When the alarm rings, get up on the first try. Yes, I know it's hard. Sometimes the sheets feel like they're holding you hostage. That's why I'm going to tell you a little magic secret. Put the alarm far from the bed, far enough that you have to get up to turn it off. And once you're on your feet, don't lie back down. You've already won the first battle of the day. And to lure motivation out, leave notes around the house with phrases that hit you where it counts. On the mirror, today you don't decide. Your future self does. On the fridge, the hard part lasts 5 minutes. The satisfaction lasts all day. On the door, if you step outside now, you've already won. It might seem silly, but they work. In those moments when laziness screams, those notes remind you what really matters. And don't forget, the Stoics already knew this. They didn't wait to feel brave or motivated. They acted. Marcus Aurelius would write in his journal every morning what he was going to do that day, even when he didn't feel like it. And he did it anyway, because he understood that discipline, clarity, and courage don't just appear, you build them. My friend, you are not the result of what you dream about when you're motivated. You're the result of what you do when you don't feel like it. That's real Stoic strength. And trust me, if you spend the next 7 days acting like this and doing what you must even with that Monday morning face, you'll become unrecognizable to yourself and to those around you. And now tell me, what's your trick for staying disciplined even when you have zero motivation? Share it in the comments. Your experience will surely help someone else. Or, if you prefer, simply write, "Today, I do what I must." Because in the end, that's what someone does when they choose to transform in 7 days. They do what has to be done, even when they don't feel like it. 7. Endure the pain and turn it into strength. Imagine you're sitting in a classroom and the teacher walks in without saying hello, wearing a serious face, a wrinkled suit, and carrying a stack of papers. That teacher is pain. He's demanding, doesn't explain things kindly, and sometimes doesn't even seem fair. He asks uncomfortable questions, throws surprise tests at you, and never gives you time to prepare. And you, sitting there with sweaty palms and your heart in your throat, all you want is to stand up and run out the door. But if you stay in that chair, if you listen and learn, you eventually realize that teacher didn't come to punish you. He came to teach you. And here's the trick. Pain doesn't ask for permission. It shows up, sits on your couch, kicks its feet up on the table, and gets comfortable. You can try to kick it out, but the more you push, the tighter it clings. Or you can invite it to train with you. Because yes, you can transform yourself in just 7 days if you act like a Stoic, with discipline to not give up, clarity to see you're not the only one suffering, and courage to hold on just a little longer. Epictetus knew this well. He wrote, "Suffering arises from wanting things to be different than they are." He himself was a slave, lame, beaten, and humiliated. And even so, he chose to think, "It's not what happens to me, it's what I do with it." That's the question you should be asking too. Not if it will hurt, but what will you do with that pain? Because the Stoics didn't run from it. They faced it. They knew that, like muscles in the gym, the mind grows stronger under weight. And if you don't believe me, let me tell you a story that proves it. Imagine being locked in a tiny cell, day after day, with a death sentence hanging over your head for something you didn't do. You hear the guard's keys jingling, the door of another cell opening, someone else who never comes back. And you wonder, will it be me tomorrow? That's how Anthony Graves lived for 18 years. 18. With the sound of keys, the cold light of the corridor, and the echo of his own breathing reminding him no one believed he was innocent. Many in his place would have broken, would have let hate devour them, and he admits he almost gave up at first. But one day, staring at the ceiling of his cell, he asked himself, "If this is the time I have left, what can I do with it?" And that's when everything began to change. He started reading, writing letters, helping other inmates prepare their appeals, teaching himself not to hate even when he had every reason to. Years passed, and when he was finally exonerated and walked out of that prison, he didn't come out full of rage or revenge. He came out with a mission. He founded an organization to help others wrongfully convicted. Today he gives talks about his story and always ends with the same phrase, looking his audience in the eye. "If I had given up, they would have won." And there's the key. He couldn't choose what happened to him, but he could choose what to do with that pain. He turned it into something others could use to rise. That is real strength. But you don't have to go through something so extreme to understand it. Sometimes all it takes is an ordinary Tuesday. After a long day, you go to the dentist thinking it's just a cleaning. Suddenly they say, "You need an emergency extraction." Your hands sweat, you crack bad jokes to hide the fear, you grip the chair, and you endure. When you walk out, half numb with a cotton ball in your mouth, you think, "That wasn't so bad." That I endured feeling stays with you all week. And it's no accident. Science has shown that when you train your mind to endure a little more, to get back up even when it hurts, to do something uncomfortable every day, your brain adapts. It learns that pain doesn't kill you. You can handle it. And little by little you become unrecognizable. That fragile version of you starts looking back at you in the mirror with a stronger gaze. My friend, I know you're strong. Even if you forget sometimes, I know you can turn pain into your greatest strength. First, when something hurts, name it out loud and acknowledge it. Say it. This is fear, not death. This is sadness, not disaster. When you name it, you stop fighting blindly. Second, instead of avoiding it, start. Even if it's just 5 minutes, face it. If you're afraid to go for a run, put on your shoes and go. If that conversation scares you, make the call now. The point isn't to beat it, it's to step up to it. Third, use humor. Imagine pain as an annoying clown. Yeah, one of those with a big red nose who plops down in your living room. Make fun of it a little, look it in the eye and say, "Is that all you've got?" You'll see how it loses power. Pain doesn't come to destroy you. It comes to test you. If you want to become unrecognizable this week, start training with it and surprise it with your resilience. Because when you do, my friend, you're no longer the scared student at the beginning. Now you're the one who looks the teacher in the eye and says, "I'm ready for the next lesson." 8. Stop wasting energy on useless battles. You're walking down the street in a hurry, lost in your thoughts. You get to a crosswalk and stop waiting. Suddenly, zzz, a group of cyclists whizzes by at full speed. 1, 2, 3. Not a single one stops. You crane your neck and say out loud with that irony that only comes out when you're annoyed, "Thanks for letting me cross, huh?" One of the cyclists stops, screeches to a halt, turns around and yells, "We don't have to stop, get your facts straight before you speak." You snap back. He answers louder. Another cyclist joins in. You raise your voice. He raises his even more. And by the time you realize it, you're standing in the middle of the street, arms in the air, arguing with strangers like it's life or death, while cars honk and nobody backs down. There are arguments, my friend, that are like fighting an angry duck. Lots of noise, flapping, splashing, and in the end you're just wet, exhausted and wondering what for. And the worst part is, you lose something even more valuable than your time, your peace. Marcus Aurelius used to remind himself of something we still need to hear today. If you are distressed by anything external, it is not the thing itself that disturbs you, but your judgment of it. Even as emperor, he endured insults, betrayals, and constant disputes at court. And instead of answering every attack with anger, he would silently remind himself that every pointless battle only pulled him further from his purpose. He often chose to stay quiet, breathe, and decide what truly deserved his attention. He said you have to protect your mind as if it were a walled city. Don't let just anyone in. Don't let every tiny spark light a fire inside you, because that's exactly what's stealing your peace. You want to be right with that stranger on the street. You want to fire back at that passive-aggressive comment in the group chat. You want to win the argument with that obnoxious cousin at Christmas dinner. And you don't even realize that all the while, your energy drains away and your mind fills with smoke. So, my friend, the next time an angry duck tries to drag you into its pond, try this. Do it this week and see how unrecognizable you feel after. First, when you feel your blood start to boil, quietly ask yourself, will this still matter a week from now? If the answer is no, and most of the time it is, let out your breath. Smile and keep walking. It's almost funny to see the other person's face when you don't take the bait. Also, make up a secret signal with yourself. It could be tapping your thigh, pressing your thumb, or even thinking of a silly word like duck. That's to remind yourself in the middle of the chaos, not my battle. And finally, channel that energy into something better. Instead of stewing over the argument all day, do something completely absurd and light. Watch a video of squirrels on skateboards, call a friend and tell them the story with humor, or treat yourself to an ice cream. Yes, an ice cream. Much better than wearing yourself out. Look, in the end, this isn't about being weak or letting people walk all over you. It's about choosing where you want to put your strength and your stoic energy. Believe me, if this week you choose wisely which battles to fight and which to let go, you'll notice something incredible. Suddenly you have more clarity, more lightness, and people see you differently. Because when you act with discipline, clarity, and courage, even when that means not reacting, you start to transform. So tell me, my friend, what silly battle are you going to drop this week to protect your peace? Leave it in the comments, and if you want, write down this mantra so you don't forget. My peace is not for sale. And if while listening to all this you felt like it's time to start speaking to yourself with more clarity and courage, I invite you to watch that other video that's now on screen. Yes, it's full of uncomfortable truths, but they're necessary for you to start building that version of yourself, even you won't recognize. 9. Check your group. Do they lift you up or drag you down? Picture this. It's Friday night and finally your band gets to play at that downtown bar. You step on stage with your guitar, nervous but excited. The first chords start to ring out, and it's a disaster. The drummer comes in late, the bassist is out of tune, and the singer screams off key. You give it your all, try to hold the rhythm, even pull off a brilliant solo. But it doesn't matter. No matter what you do, the song still sounds awful because the rest aren't playing with you. Your circle works the same way. You can be disciplined, clear, and brave like a Stoic. But if you surround yourself with people who don't harmonize with you, who complain, who don't move forward, you'll end up feeling the same. Spending time with the wrong people is like trying to run through sand with a backpack and heavy boots. You move forward, Sure, but slowly, with every step feeling twice as hard. And at the end of the race, you're not even sure it was worth it. Sometimes it seems easier to stay with the same old group, the same conversations, the same jokes, the same complaints. But that also leaves you stuck in the same place. Seneca warned us clearly, as long as we waste time with those who do not make us better, we ourselves stop improving. He lived by it. In his letters, he asked advice from those he admired and withdrew from those who just filled time with trivialities. He said the quality of the people around you shapes your character. And he was right. Because the discipline and clarity of a Stoic don't depend only on you, but also on the air you breathe around you. Tyler Cowen, an economist who now runs one of the most influential blogs in his field, learned this well. For years, he met with colleagues who only complained about the market and their bad luck. Until one day, walking out of yet another headache-inducing, idealist meeting, he thought, "What am I doing here?" He started seeking out meetings with people who challenged him, who pushed him to think, who didn't buy into his excuses. And that's when his career took off. He changed bands, and the music finally started to sound right. I bet you felt this too. Imagine, you go out on a Friday with your coworkers. Everyone starts bad-mouthing the boss, retelling the same stories from years ago, while the table fills with empty bottles and empty promises of next time for real. You check your watch, force a smile, and think, "This is why I came." The next week you say no. Instead, you accept an invitation from a colleague to check out a debate club. There, between arguments and laughter, you meet people who later team up with you on a project that actually excites you. In just 7 days, you feel the air is different. So, my friend, are you ready to make your band play in tune? Here are 3 steps to start choosing your people wisely, and in 1 week, feel unrecognizable. First, notice how you feel after spending time with someone. If every encounter leaves you drained, dull, ready to crawl into bed and do nothing else, put that relationship on pause. You don't need to announce it or fight. Just take a little distance and see how your energy changes. And yes, I know, sometimes you can't. Sometimes you have to endure someone because their family or the rest of your friends don't feel the same way. But here's a trick. When that person starts in with their usual complaints or bad vibes, imagine you're tuning your instrument and can't hear the background noise. Or if you dare, change the subject with humor. "Hey, tell me something good that happened to you today instead." You'll see that some go quiet, and the ones who matter will stay. Next, identify one person who inspires you, someone who, even if they intimidate you a little, makes you want to be your best. Invite them for coffee or a walk. They could be someone you already know, or even someone you follow online. Most of the time, they'll say yes. Third, make plans with the ones who actually add to your life. Use that magic phrase, "Why don't we do this more often?" It can be simple, a walk in the park, a quiet dinner, even a small joint project. What matters is that they remind you what you're capable of being. My friend, don't settle for playing in a band that's out of tune. No, you deserve better. If you want to be unrecognizable this week, pick bandmates who make you sound like never before. Because when your surroundings change, you change too. And sometimes it only takes 7 days to start hearing a whole new melody in your life. And now, don't go just yet, because there's one last piece to your total transformation, the one that ties everything you've learned together and pushes you to the next level. Are you ready? To act like your best self, starting now. Let me ask you an uncomfortable question. If someone followed you around all day with a camera, and that video was screened in a theater under the title, "The Best Version of You," would you like what you saw? Picture it. You, the moment the alarm goes off, Monday face, hair a mess, scrolling your phone without energy. Later, at work, just doing the bare minimum, waiting for the day to be over. And in the evening, putting off everything you said you'd do when you have more time. Is that really the movie you'd want people to watch? It's funny, my friend. So many people wait to be the ideal version of themselves before acting like it. As if one day, Out of nowhere, a magical light will shine on them and suddenly make them disciplined, clear, and brave. Waiting to feel ready to act is like waiting for your car to be perfectly clean before starting a road trip. It never happens. Start the trip with the car dirty, but start now. Your best self isn't some faraway destination or a title someone hands you. It's a suit that's already hanging in your closet. You just have to put it on. No one's going to dress you. And if you're still struggling to believe it, listen to Marcus Aurelius. He didn't sit around writing theories about what it would be like to be a good emperor. He ruled through plagues and wars, making tough decisions every day. That's why he wrote, "Stop debating what a good man should be. Be one. Today." That's simple. He doesn't say tomorrow, not when everything's perfect. Today. And you know who understood this perfectly? James Clear, author of Atomic Habits. When he started, he was nobody. No books, no publishing contracts, no massive audience. But he decided to write daily on his blog as if he were already a recognized author. He didn't behave like a timid beginner. He acted like a professional from day one. Little by little, that attitude attracted opportunities until he sold millions of copies. He didn't wait for the suit to be ironed. He put it on and stepped outside. And this works in the little things too. On an ordinary Monday, your boss asks for a volunteer to lead a presentation. You think, "I'm no good at this." But something inside says, "Put it on. Now." You raise your hand, prepare your slides carefully, even rehearse in front of the mirror and throw in a bad joke to break the ice. On Friday, when you finish, people applaud and someone whispers, "You were born for this." And you smile because you know it was precisely that act of doing it before you felt ready that made you unrecognizable. So if you want to wear that suit, here's how. Start today. First, dress like someone who already has the life they want. Even if no one else notices, you will. It's not about spending money. Just choose something that makes you feel steadier, more confident, more like the main character in your own story. Then, in the little decisions you face every day, ask yourself, what would my ideal self do? And act accordingly, even in the tiniest things. What to eat, how to respond when someone irritates you, whether to train or stay on the couch. Those tiny choices are what build the character. And finally, here's an exercise for you. Write a letter to yourself from the future. Imagine you're you a year from now writing to thank you for starting today. Thanking you for daring to be who you wanted to be without waiting for an invitation. Keep that letter and read it whenever laziness tries to sneak in. My friend, no one is going to give you permission to be your best self. No one is going to hang a medal around your neck before you start running. But if you decide to put on that suit and walk with discipline, clarity, and courage, even when you don't feel like it, I promise that in just 7 days, you won't even recognize yourself. Trust me, start today. And a week from now, you'll look in the mirror and think, this is me. Becoming unrecognizable in just 7 days isn't a dream. It's a challenge only the brave accept. Every sunrise is your chance to prove you're more, that you're no longer the same person you were yesterday. With discipline, clarity, and courage, even when you don't feel like it, you become someone new. If you've made it this far, write in the comments, "This week I transform completely." That way, I'll know who the true Stoic warriors are, the ones who made it all the way to the end. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button so you don't miss what's coming next. Also, check the description box. We've left some resources there to help you dive deeper into Stoic teachings. Our goal is to bring you as much value as possible. And if at any point you feel like supporting us so we can keep creating this kind of content, you'll find how to do that in the pinned comment. Now, I invite you to explore the playlist on screen. It's designed to help you face life with greater wisdom and confidence. Click it, and let's keep growing together. Until the next talk, take care and keep embracing your inner Stoic.